Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again this morning. Hope you had a good long holiday weekend and got to relax, spend some time with family, or do whatever it is that you like to do. You know, when I grew up as a child, or all of us really, when we grew up as a child, there were certain things that we couldn't do until we reached a certain level of maturity. You know, at 3 years old, I couldn't read signs. Um, if our family was traveling and we were walking through the airport, I couldn't read the sign to tell me what gate, where the baggage claim was, or that. My parents had to direct me. They didn't say, "Hey, you know what? If you can't read, that's just too bad." At 3 years old, right? They read for me. They read labels for me. They read directions for me. They did what I couldn't do. They sacrificed for me. At 13 years old, I couldn't go out and get a full-time job, right? Not one that would make a living. They didn't say, "Hey, you need to get out there and start making your own living at 12, 13 years old." No, they didn't do that. They provided for me so that I could get an education, so that I could come to a place in my life where I could eventually get my own job. So you understand the concept here is that um, our parents made sacrifices for us until we could come to a level of maturity that we could live in this world on our own. Well, I think that's an example of what Paul was trying to say in Romans chapter 15 verse 1. He says, "We then who are strong ought to bear with the scruples of the weak and not to please ourselves." And when he's talking about being strong and being weak in the faith, he said the ones that are strong in the faith, they need to actually make the sacrifice to bear with those who are weak. The context of this passage in Romans is about eating meat, and they had a little um, thing there where they would go to the market and buy meat to eat for food. Sometimes that meat that they bought in that market had actually been used in a sacrifice in a pagan temple. And so there were some people who were saying, "Oh, if you're a Christian, you can't eat that meat. It was sacrificed in a pagan temple." And others were saying, "It's no big deal. I didn't sacrifice it. I'm not worshiping that God. I worship Jehovah God, and it's just meat, and I'm just buying it in the market." And Paul ultimately says, "Look, that meat doesn't mean anything. If you can eat it, you can eat it. If you want to eat it, you can eat it. It's no big deal." He says, "But." He says, "If you are going to cause your brother to stumble because you eat that meat, then you shouldn't eat that meat." He says, "If you're going to give an offense to your brother because he thinks you shouldn't eat that meat, then you shouldn't eat that meat." And that's why he says here, "We then who are strong ought to bear with the scruples of those who are weak." Those who are not as mature in their walk with God, oftentimes we judge and we complain and we think that they should just grow up. But really, what the Bible teaches us is that we need to be patient, and we need to be kind, and we need to walk with them and sacrifice for them. The mature should sacrifice for the immature, just like our parents did for us as we grew up. So we then who are strong are to bear with the scruples of the weak and not to please ourselves. Romans chapter 15, verse 1. God bless you guys. Have a great week. Get out there and faith today.